You're up, Commissioner.
All right, we'll call us back into session. Christie? So, listen, we need to go into the Board of Ambulance.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we go into the Board of Ambulance for the ambulance district.
We have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, you're back again.
I'm back again. Gosh, we should not get used to this. Christy Pincock.
We're not that
Office
bad.
Why? We like you. I mean, that's
Thank
the whole,
you.
this whole thing. We're not gonna, like, weird.
I don't want to
Yeah.
have to always present things to
You're
you.
fine. That's good.
Today we are before you with a agreement for a collection agency with CBP affiliated services. The agreement is for traditional collection services and has been reviewed by the legal department. I don't know if you have any questions for me.
Nope. I'm good.
So, I do.
Okay.
Number one there, the percentages. Explain to me about them a little bit.
That's what you're looking. Okay.
On the 23%.
Yeah.
So when we turn any funds to them, when they collect, they would keep 23% of the funds. Our current contract that we are going to be requesting to end if this one is approved, we pay 33%. So that is a 10% savings in really what we'll be receiving 10% more from what they collect when it goes to them.
So it's not 23% plus 23% plus 23%. You know what I'm saying? Just kind of the way it reads there. I wanted to make sure that
Their fee is 23% of what they
23%.
collect, they keep,
That
and
doesn't
the
matter.
remainder will,
which
Come to us.
line they go on, it's 23%.
yes.
Okay. And I figured that's what it was, but I just wanted to clarify with that one.
Yeah. Now, on there, they do show that they have, for the first 30 days that it's turned to them, anything that they collect in that first 30 days, they do not take a fee on. So
Mhm.
that's the 0%, but all the rest are 23.
Okay. Motion?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve the new contract with CBP, CBP? Yeah, CBP affiliated services.
We have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
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 So the second part of our, what we were presenting, legal was drafting a letter to cancel our current contract with MRS, and I have not, I believe that letter was presented
It's
for the
here.
packet and is there. And so just asking for that to be signed so that we can cancel with the current collection agency. Our intent is any accounts that have been turned to them will remain with them and be collected under their previous agreements, and we'll start fresh with the new company.
Okay, we're canceling with
MRS.
MRS.
Medical
And
Recovery.
both these these are both agreements with CBP. So the other one isn't in here.
Okay, I'll have to check with Christy. I thought there was being a letter drafted by legal department that was going to cancel the agreement with MRS.
Okay. You got something there, Alan? You're nodding your head.
Yeah, we did draft a letter. I'm just trying to figure out who it all went to, but
I thought it went to the agenda group because I saw it.
So this one is a business associate agreement?
The business associate agreement is an agreement that we have to have with any providers that we share patient information, whether it's name or what. That's just a standard agreement.
And then the
so
other
that's-
signature I have here is the contract. So
Okay, so you
I
don't have
the
that letter.
Let's get the contract done then. And,
Yeah, it's,
I mean, contracts are the letter. We can have that signed at any time. It can be signed Tuesday if you need to.
Okay,
okay.
so I just need to ask Christy to put the letter on Tuesday's meeting? Okay,
Yeah.
do you need me to attend that or just?
No.
Okay.
Unless you'd like to.
I'll be out of town.
Then
I
it'd
was
be
gonna
like
have
making
to
it a
send somebody
habit,
else,
so-
Don't want to make it a habit.
All right, thank
Okay,
you.
thanks.
right,
Mr. Chair, I
thank you.
make a motion that we exit the Board of Ambulance.
We have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Looks like Shanda.
Good afternoon, Commissioner. Shanda Crystal, Purchasing and Economic Analyst. I do have 7 items before the board today. And I was hoping we would have some of the other individuals join us for the conflict public defense. So I don't know if you want me to start with my procurement. items
Let's
first.
go through the rest and see if somebody shows up. If
Okay.
not, we might
Okay.
detour you for a minute.
Okay, and it is unusual, right? They're used to having it in the morning, so they might have court or something else, but just nobody let me know, so I was hoping. But, skipping then to number 4, please. Request to sign an enterprise lease agreement for the ambulance department. If you'll recall, Chief O'Hearn was here a little bit ago asking for another, if I understood right, like a quick response. It's not a full ambulance. And we were waiting for the Chevy to open their ordering banks. We did have to hold our breath. They did open this morning, and they were able to build the unit that I have before the board today.
Jason has a question on that. The problem with the lease through the ambulance district is that would be an operating cost that would have to be incurred through the contract.
Yeah, not on the,
The county only does purchases. So how would you like to handle that?
Well, since we're the one that suggested to them to
Cleanest
do a
would
lease.
just be purchase.
yeah, because the problem is the contract side. It would have to be leased through, because the city of Pocatello is being given the funds to operate. It's an operational expense, the capital
Can they
expense.
submit us an invoice and we just pay that invoice? So
Well, we pay the city a contract every month, so they would submit that through their contract. But then the lease would go through the city, not the county.
Yeah, that's,
The cleanest with the ambulance district is almost purchase. That's why we've always done it that way.
Right.
And that was a meeting that nor Jason and I were at, but when I watched the meeting, it did say that you gave them permission to purchase, and then you had Shanda work on
look and see if there's a lease. to
a
see.
lease, but a purchase is really the way we need to go with the ambulance district.
Because otherwise they'd have to bill you backwards. I mean, it would just,
Otherwise, the city would do the lease.
yeah. Or, well, what Jeff was saying is couldn't we do the lease and then we would
Bill the city,
bill the city out of the operations line?
deduct it.
So we double budget.
Yeah, or you'd have to put it into, the lease payment would have to be in a next year's line item for like a capital expense. I mean, you could lease it, but it's not, and
It's
we
not
don't,
capital expense.
we don't have a line item for it.
Right. The cleanest is a purchase. And where they use the vehicle and use it to death, that's when a scenario of a purchase is better than.
See, the question I had on it though is, the problem is they're not using it for ambulance purposes.
It's admin, so that
Well,
they use it until it dies.
I know, but what I'm saying is they're not using it for ambulance purposes.
They didn't have a clear picture.
They don't have a
where
clear
was
purpose
going.
for it. They're using it for whatever may occur. And so I have a problem with just having us buy them a vehicle, because the problem that they have is they're using that for fire stuff, they're using it for everything else. That's not an ambulance specific function.
Is
That's
this a
the problem.
decision that we can put off for a couple of weeks?
So I wish I would have known about that a little sooner, only because in order to piggyback off of the state contract, we would have needed to know about 3 weeks ago to do that. We can purchase through another arena. The difficulty is the ordering bank is open today, and so the longer we put that off, the more likely it is that they'll cancel our order.
Can't we just make a purchase order instead of a lease order?
Oh, yeah, so not through, we have not purchased anything directly through Enterprise yet, if that's the intent. But I'm sure we could, somebody out there, right, would be willing to sell us the vehicle.
Like Commissioner Huff says, let's find out more information on it, about the purchase end of it.
The other reason I asked that is because we're doing that ambulance district meeting next week, talk about the potential chase vehicle or the quick response vehicle and where that goes. And this vehicle was originally talked about potentially being used in that discussion. But not, I don't know if that necessarily impacts the
See,
funding of it, but.
the big problem it comes back to is where they didn't have a clear, well, we're gonna give it to one of the chiefs, and the chief's gonna use it for ambulance stuff, but they're also gonna use it for this and also use it for that. I have a problem to just provide a vehicle for them then, where it's not, the ambulance levy is very specific. You can only use it for ambulance functions. You can't give them a vehicle and say, hey, here you go, and that's not de minimis use. De minimis use is the ambulance vehicle is used for ambulance, like a chase vehicle, but they're talking about having it for an administrative whatever, and I'm sorry, but that's not inside the purview, that's an operational thing that then the city should be paying, not us.
And that says that the city should be buying all vehicles and then billing us a percentage of use.
Well, but what I'm saying is
Right,
like,
that'd be the
yeah,
case.
especially because the ambulances they're only used for ambulance
Right.
purposes. They're not used for, but what I'm saying is yeah, the
But then that takes care of this, this issue period, because then they buy all vehicles.
If
and
it's
they
not an
figure out
ambulance, they-
percentage of use
Yeah,
for the admin vehicles.
if
and
it's
that's
not
what
an
we pay.
ambulance, they need to buy it themselves.
Right.
So let's hold off on it. We'll see what the consequences are and make the right decision.
And worst case scenario, they go buy a used 1-year-old or something, because they've got the budget authority this year for a purchase. It was approved in last year's budget process.
Well, but again, like I said, better be used for an ambulance
Right.
purpose, and
Yeah.
it can't be used for
Fire department.
fire department purposes. I mean, if it's used in conjunction with, on an occasion in a de minimis act, yeah, I think you'd be okay.
That's not.
But not this. Sorry, they're using it 2/3 of the time. They're using it 7/8 of the time for other things than ambulance
Right,
stuff.
then we'll give you 2/3 of the purchase price of the vehicle.
Okay?
Do you want to keep going? Number 5. A state grant has come available and juvenile is working towards it. Today is a very high-level view. Todd Mauger is taking the reins on this and compiling all the information to come talk to the board next week in regards to this. But Dan and I had a couple of requests that we just wanted to let the commission know about and get direction going forward. So the grant is to build a safe teen assessment center. And there's a couple different things that Dan and I would need to do to support this project prior to it coming to the commission. One, Dan would need to consult with the city of Pocatello in regards to setbacks and variances. In order to build the building that they want to do, they would just need to double check with the city and make sure that everything is in proper order right before the grant is submitted. So Dan just wanted to double check that that would be an okay conversation to have prior to the project actually coming before the commission. And then the other, it's a super tight timeline. They give us just about a year to build a building. So in order to comply with any of that, I would request that I start the paperwork for an RFQ for an architect. So we would be ready to hit the ground running if awarded. The award would come June 10th is when the state would look at awarding. And I would like to have everything ready to go before the board at that point. But again, there's just a little bit of groundwork I would like to do prior to next week's reviewing the entire thing.
And right now, we are one of the front runners for this grant, and it is a brick and mortar grant that does allow the building of a facility. The discussion that Todd had with Dan is either redoing and upgrading the Lander building or tearing it down and putting something new on it, correct?
Yeah, and that's the consulting with the city of Pocatello to make sure that we abide by all of their, and I don't know what setbacks and variances are, but those are the things that Dan has questions on that he wants to triple check with the city before that comes before the board.
Jason asked me to bring up on this, we've not seen any of the grant application or management
Correct.
or reporting information, so he was wondering if there was any way we could get looped in at some point
Todd
before
is-
the application is going to be submitted.
Todd has just been gathering all the data. I haven't seen the application yet either. He's just been gathering all that. He's supposed to be working on it this week, I think, because it is a June 1st submission time frame.
It's May 27th. Is
Yeah.
that next Friday?
Yeah, next Friday is
Yeah.
the submission time frame on it.
So it goes back to Terrell's little deal of 95% baked. That's all the players need to be involved with it. So yes, let's get all the information we need to get the players all involved, and then, I mean, it's a simple yes, no, then, but it isn't up till we have that information,
Correct,
to me, so
correct.
Okay.
let's
Is
get
this
the
a
information and get it
Federal
to.
grant, state grant?
State grant.
Okay, so if anybody could give us some information on it so that we know,
Okay.
since our office normally manages it, and I think Nancy was invited to a meeting to discuss part of it, but normally the clerk's office is a little bit more involved in grants, so that would be appreciated if we could get looped in.
You will get looped in.
Thank you.
Great. So we'll do that background work to make sure that everybody is ready to go as he presents it next week to the board.
Okay.
Okay. Number 6 then. And this one I did anticipate being further along in the informal bid request for the juvenile detention flooring. Seth is still reviewing some of the products that Dan found for him to make sure that we move forward with. We don't want to do this every year, and there's a couple different ones that they're debating warranty level on and how long the kids need to be off of it. So Seth is still looking at that, but that is something that we're moving forward with in conjunction with the school district. They'll actually be paying that fund, but we'll go ahead and bid out the project and get it ready to go. I just anticipated them picking something before now, but so that one's not 95% ready, so it is not before the board today.
Okay.
Number 7 then is an update on the rest of the projects we have. The first one, right, we're replacing the flooring in the juvenile detention in partnership with the school district, so we're excited about that partnership and moving forward with that project. The emergency services, the fuel reduction, has a grant manager that closed on Tuesday, so we're looking forward to moving that one forward as well. The event center, we just had the pre-qualification conference for the gravity-fed sewer system on the wellness complex site. We did have 3 engineer firms visit with us on that one, and we're excited for the involvement that they had and the different questions that they posed at the project. We're excited to have their expertise as we move this forward. Questions on that one are due on Monday, and that one has a tight time frame. They are on board with that. They did express some concerns on the contractor end of things, being able to meet some of our goals that we had. And we did say, right, once we get people qualified to do the work, we would talk more about that schedule. Scott's going to put together some have-tos, right, things that have to be available certain days, certain times. So we are very clear on our expectations, and the contractor knows and understands that. We have also discussed breaking it into 2 different phases. So we could potentially do one phase in the fall and the other in the spring, fall, something like that, to help manage schedules along with availability of products are a couple things we're trying to on that project there. On the computer service, the 911 emergency communication system, the board approved the sole source last Tuesday, and Adam's working on getting firm numbers by the end of May to come before the board and talking about funding sources for that project to move that one forward. And the photography was also awarded earlier this week, and Emma is excited for the upcoming events that we have to get the Courtney Weeks photography involved and get some stuff done. So we're excited for all of those.
Okay.
Any questions on? Oh, do we have?
Carrie's here.
Great. Karen. For a moment. Thank you. In regards to the conflict public defender conversation, I do have some names, potential interest, and employment applications that I need to review with the board. I would ask that we go into executive session.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we enter into an executive session under Idaho Code 74-2061 A and B.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Levy?